game changer is only what I say, rebellion. Rebellion. A rebel against the European regulation. Hungary is doing that. So what is the law now in the European Union is totally against what we are doing here. So I have to pay every day, 1 million euro as a fine, as a punishment, because I don't follow the pro-migration policy of the Commission. So that's going on, but it's a simple rebellion. And that's my suggestion to everybody. Rebellion. Reform will not help. Even they will accept certain push coming from the prime ministers, but they will never change dramatically the structure what we need.
But you have an absolute majority, and I wonder what your opinion is on other European countries, most European countries in fact, where the right wing is not able to get an absolute majority. Would you recommend to the leaders of those parties to form coalitions anyway and to have watered down policies, or to say, no, we're going to stay in the opposition?
It's not possible. I was talking with FPO, what happened in Austria.
Yeah, but there are some examples what you have just quoted, but there are some other kind of examples, like in Dutch,
in the Netherlands,
Netherlands, in Sweden. So without mentioning any concrete countries, because I would not like to criticize anybody, but the fact is that those parties who moved into coalition with others, sooner or later has given up, or have given up their original radical position on migration. So I have rather negative experiences on that.
But do you think that the European Union as a structure, which we consider in Switzerland, or some consider in Switzerland as an intellectual misconception, it doesn't work because everybody's responsible for everybody and nobody's responsible for something specific. I mean, is the EU, how can the EU genuinely survive? Or how many years do you give the EU in its current structure to still work?
Few. So we are in the last phase now. So the European Union, for many reasons, finally lost its competitiveness. So the only reason why people are ready, members are ready to accept crazy regulations of the EU institutions just because of the financial transfers. But because losing of the competitiveness, less and less money could be redistributed. So the financial transfer is not a keeping together factor anymore. It's reducing. I see it in the discussion coming from for the next 7 years term budget. And if you are not competitive, you have only one option. You have to make yourself competitive again. Otherwise, you will continue to come down. And what is the way to do it? You need strong leadership, which convince the majority of the people, or made it acceptable for the majority, the economic reforms, which are sometimes painful. In Hungary in 2010, I introduced some hugely painful reforms, changes. And the people were so desperate because of the previous socialist government, they have accepted it. Not because they agreed, probably, just because there was no other option, you know. And the previous socialist government destroyed everything. So, and I convinced them to accept it. Let's make a chance for me 2 years to introduce these reforms, which probably painful, but in 2 years' time, you will see the results. And they let the chance for me to happen, and I did so. So that's the reason why the Hungarian economic structure is totally different than any others in the West European societies or European Union. It's not as obvious as the migration or war or gender or pro-family issues, but even the economic structure basically different from the other European ones. But that's another story. So I have some experience how to run dramatic economic reforms to make your country more competitive. But that kind of leadership is lacking in Europe at this moment. So I don't see any country, and not the Brazilian institutions neither, to be able to reform the structure of the European economy to make it more competitive. So, if they cannot do that, what is the other option? First, to say intellectual misconception. And go home. That's one. But they don't do that.
That's the Swiss view.
Okay. But they don't do that. But they have another answer. Okay, if you're not able to run reforms for competitiveness. Let's get money somehow and somewhere else. And it's loans, it's debts. So now the final phase of the European Union is common indebtedness. This is the beginning of the end. That's how I see it. And we do it now.
And let me go back to the migration topic and how to deal with the demographic winter, because that's the other part of the story. So how to deal with the fertility rate, for example.
So that's the $1 million question anyway. Nobody has a clear pattern which could save the fertility rates and the society as it is without having migration. So it's a real intellectual trap for me. No migration, but committed to maintain the level of the population of the country. So how we can manage it? Nobody has answer to that. At least I try to find an answer. That's the difference. The others don't invest energy to find an answer. They just simply accept, okay, the only solution is migration. That's what they do. But I don't accept it, and I feel by heart it's not a good answer. So we must have another one. So I'm looking for the other one. That's what we call the family policy here in Hungary, which we introduced 10 years ago. It went quite well, very well. Then COVID erupted, and the COVID pushed us back. So now we are in a better shape than we were, but not as good as we reached already, and not as good far as we should be. So that's the reality. But I'm still, but you know what I have got intellectually is that for a good family policy you need 1 or 2 decades permanently. Yeah. And I'm just pushing. So I did so maverick kind. Unusual things you can't imagine. Just now we introduced the no pay tax for the mothers who has at least 2 kids, regardless how old the kids are.
Sounds perfect.
So even they could 30 or 40.
Maybe I should move.
So because we think that the ladies fulfill some of their contribution to the society by the kids. So if they are ready to go to work, don't pay any income tax till the end of their life. So that's very strange, nowhere else. Or, I don't give subsidies to the families because at the same time we need labor. So I combine the labor and the pro-family policy, which means the tax allowances is the way how I can support the families, Then, we have the problem with the high rate of divorces, Because, even we are a Christian country, but people are not convinced so much to follow personally the abstract Christian values, So the divorce rate is high. So that's the reason why I concentrate not only on the families, I concentrate on the mothers. Because if after there is a divorce and the kids remain with the mother, there is no financial background for her. So that we're not just targeting on the family, but we have special policies targeting on the mothers, So altogether we have 30 instruments we use to support the families.
You can move the money from the cost of immigration. Last time I was here, I was with President Novak, who's leading that battle globally. It's like, is it a fair argument to make the money that you'd save by kind of easing up on immigration, you can invest in places like this to solve the problem?
Far more than that.
Foundationally solve the problem.
Yeah, of course. I'm, all in all, I'm convinced that the most expensive thing is migration.
More than $1 million a day.
Far. Yeah. So when I'm attacked by the opposition, why I am doing that and pay the fine to the Europeans, said, guys, it's even cheaper now. Make a calculation. But it's cheaper financially and cheaper socially. So I'm ready to pay. Because
Prime Minister, I can't support these family policies. You have to stop doing them because the more my wife hears about them, she keeps saying we must move to Hungary. I'm not ready, so you have to help me. What can I do?
If you combine with the fact that family is not just perceived as a unit of taxation, but as the inherent core of the society, yes. That's the argument why we don't have inheritance tax at all.
Wow.
It's philosophically, we argue philosophically, because, any wealth and money which is generated were done together by the family. If the members of the family inherited something, there is no reason to be taxed, because it was a common effort and achievement of the family, So why we should why should tax them? If they decide to give it somebody else, it's okay. Some taxation is acceptable. But inside the family, if the sons or brothers, why? Because family is more than just, philosophy. It's an existing community, and we have to treat them like that.
Can I ask a question on?
So even I have some even more argument why you should come to Hungary.
Can I ask a question on the political?
Can't win. Even he's promo code Tanya.
So this goes back a little ways, not just the policies of the last few years, but roughly 25 years or so. When you were prime minister the first time, you moved the crown of St. Stephen from a museum to the center of parliament. I'm not Hungarian, but looking at that seems like a beautiful movement that seems to have great meaning for the political order. But I don't want to put words in your mouth. What's the significance of that move?
Okay. That's the most complicated element of the being Hungarian, So first of all, the crown belongs to Christianity. And the relationship between the nation and Christianity here in Hungary is very unique. It is even written into the constitution that the Christianity has a role to preserve the nation. And if you look at the history of 1,100 years of Hungary, there were some periods when we survived as a nation just because of the Christianity. And the crown is a symbol of coming together the nation and Christianity, because it's a Christian country, which is symbolized by the crown. So that's first. Second, nation is a notion when you discuss and read about it in the Western philosophy and literature, looks like that something would belong to the modern age, 19th century or something, the modern nations. Yeah. But it's not the case with the Hungarians. The nation as a notion, as a concept, is back to more than 1,000 years old for a very simple reason. Because, this territory was occupied by the Hungarians by a move. So we came here to this territory 1,100 years ago as a deliberate move. We decided that from Asia, we move here, we come here, and we take that territory. We took it over. And the Hungarians arrived, which means that these Hungarian guys have spoken or had spoken Hungarian language, surrounded by alien communities, no any relatives, neither culturally, neither linguistically, no DNA, So we are totally alien here. So therefore, to be a Hungarian and to belong to the community, which is the nation, is a concept of more than 1,000 years old here because of the special history. So and the St. Stephen crown is a kind of testimony of that. So therefore, for Hungarians, we have the saying, still we have the crown, we have the country. It sounds stupid, because crown is just a piece of something, and the country is something else. But in the mind of the Hungarians, still we have the crown, we have the country. So therefore, the crown is so much deeply embedded in the heart and spirit of the Hungarians that it's difficult to imagine for somebody who is not belonging to our community.
No, I don't know that it's that difficult. It seems much more solid than a lot of the modern ideologies that political orders are based on these days.
So it was a big move, it was at the same time an anti-communist move, because after the Second World War, when the last Hungarian government escaped from Hungary to the West, because the Russians came in, the Soviet Union came in, the communists came in, they delivered with themselves the crown. So the crown was outside the country.